For ditching my mother-in-law after my husband took his mistress on vacation? The murmur of O'Hare International Airport surrounded me. I was in Terminal 1, in the international departures area. My fingers gripped the cold railing. Below, people flowed like a river of colors, and then I saw them. Michael, my husband. He was wearing the light gray linen shirt I bought him last year. He was pushing 2 suitcases with one hand. With the other, he held the waist of a woman. She, Jessica, the woman whose name I found on his phone a month ago, laughed with her head thrown back. Her brown hair moved with the air conditioning. She wore a sleeveless red dress. It looked like she was going to the beach, not to Chicago in February. Look, that is our flight. I heard Michael's voice. He had that soft, special tone he used with women. I raised my phone, zoomed in, the camera trembled. I saw Michael turn his head and leave a kiss on Jessica's forehead, so natural, so familiar, as if he had done it 1,000 times. I pressed the record button. 30 seconds, a minute. They walked toward the counter. Michael handed over the passports. Jessica leaned on his shoulder. Her finger drew circles on his chest. "Ma'am, do you need help?" An airport employee approached. I lowered the phone, shook my head. "No, thank you. I am just waiting for someone who will not look back." On the way home, the rain began to hit the windshield. February. It was always like this in Chicago, gray and heavy. I turned on the radio. An old country song was playing. It talked about love and betrayal. I turned it off. Our house was in Naperville, a small 2-story white house with a small backyard. Michael always said it was not enough for a partner in a new construction firm, but he insisted on buying it. He said it would be close to his mother. I parked the car and sat at the wheel for 10 minutes. I watched how the rain made paths on the glass. The sound of the key in the lock was strangely loud. "Sophia, is that you?" Evelyn's voice came from the living room, sharp and urgent. "Why did you take so long? I told you I need to bathe this afternoon." I took off my wet coat and hung it in the hallway. There was a long line at the grocery store. "Do not call me Mom," she always corrected me. "You are just my son's wife. Nothing more." "Is the water hot?" "I need to bathe before 3 or I will miss my afternoon show." I entered the living room. Evelyn was sitting in her electric chair. It was expensive. Michael bought it last year as a Christmas present. She wore a silk nightgown. Her white and gray hair was perfectly styled. She was 74 years old. She had been paralyzed for 3 years, but she still maintained her air of superiority. Her eyes, the same dark brown as Michael's, scrutinized me. "You look horrible," she said. "Pale as a ghost." And Michael said he would call today. Did he have an urgent work trip? Carrying the bags to the kitchen, I said. "To San Antonio for a project." "To San Antonio." Now Evelyn drove her chair toward the kitchen door. "He did not say anything last week." "Did you argue?" "I put the milk, eggs and vegetables in the fridge." "No, it is just work." "You are lying." Her voice grew higher. "My son tells me everything. Yesterday he said he would take me out to eat this weekend, and now he tells me he is in San Antonio. Look me in the eyes, Sophia." I turned and looked at her. After all these years, I had learned to stay calm under her gaze. He really went for work. Maybe he will be back for the weekend. Maybe, she let out a cold laugh. You do not even know your own husband's plans. My God, why did Michael marry you? 10 years. You did not even give him a child. And now you do not even know where he is. The fridge door trembled in my hand. I closed it gently. It clicked. I am going to prepare your bath. Wait, she ordered. And my medicine? Did you buy it? I took a small box from the bottom of the bag. Here it is. The pharmacist said the same dose. 2 pills a day. Give it to me. She extended her hand. Her nails were perfect with pale pink polish. I gave it to her. She examined the box as if inspecting a stolen object. It is the right brand. I only take that one. The others give me an allergy. It is the right brand. She put the box on her lap. Good. Go prepare the water. Make it hot but not too much. You know my skin is sensitive. In the bathroom I turned on the faucet. I watched the hot water fill the bathtub. The steam fogged the mirror. My reflection was pale. I had dark shadows under my eyes. 34 years old. I looked 40. Michael told me last month, "Sophia, you should take better care of yourself. Jessica is only 29. She looks younger than you." I thought he was joking. We have been married for 10 years. We have been together since college. He studied architecture, I studied literature. His first sentence in the library was, "My mother also likes that book you are reading." It was a book of poems. The bathtub filled. I tested the water. It was fine. "Mrs. Evelyn, the bath is ready." I used the name she liked. "Push me," she said. Slowly. "Do not hit the door frame. Last week you did it." I got a bruise on my leg. I pushed the chair down the hallway. She weighed little, but the chair was heavy. The stroke 3 years ago took away the movement of her left side, but not her desire to control. The doctor said surviving was a miracle. Sometimes I think that for some people, living is just to make life difficult for others. "What are you waiting for?" She raised her arms. "Help me undress. Or do you want me to do it alone?" I took a deep breath. I approached. The buttons of her silk nightgown were small. My fingers were not very agile, her skin was loose and spotted, but she still smelled of expensive perfume. Michael bought her a new one every month. "Michael did not say when he returns?" she asked suddenly. Her eyes watched me intently. "No," I answered, taking off her top. "Weird," she murmured. "Very weird. At least he sends me a message." "Sophia, give me your phone." My hand stopped. "What?" "Your phone. I want to see if he sent you anything. If he did and you are hiding it from me." "He did not." My voice sounded calm. "He does not like to be disturbed at work. You know that." "The phone," she insisted, her hand extended. I looked at that hand full of wrinkles but with strong fingers. 10 years. In 10 years I learned to cook her favorite dishes. I memorized the doses and schedules of her medicines. I spent nights in the hospital when she was admitted. I passed up a promotion because someone was needed at home. And Michael, he was busy with work, with his commitments, with his inappropriate relationship with a 29-year-old woman named Jessica. "No," I said. Evelyn's eyes opened wide. "What did you say?" I said no. I put her clothes on the arm of the chair. "I will not give you my phone. Michael is your son, but he is my husband. Our correspondence is private." "Private?" she yelled. "What privacy do you have in this house? You eat from my son's money, you live off my son's money. Do you think your little librarian's salary pays the mortgage? God, I always told Michael not to marry you. You are not of our class. The water is getting cold." I interrupted her. I started to unbutton her pants. She grabbed my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin. "I am going to call Michael right now. Give me the phone or I will tell him you mistreat me." I looked at the anger in her eyes. I felt a strange calm. "His phone is off, Mrs. Evelyn. Right now he must be on a plane to Punta Cana with Jessica. They are going to the Dominican Republic on their trip. Even though we are not divorced yet." Time stopped. Evelyn's hand let go. Her mouth opened a little, then closed and opened again. "Are you speaking nonsense?" "I am not speaking nonsense." I continued taking off her clothes. My movements were mechanical. "Come." I saw them at the airport. Michael was hugging her, kissing her, checking in her luggage. They bought tickets to Punta Cana. It is an all-inclusive resort. 1 week. "It is impossible," she whispered. But her voice no longer sounded sure. "Michael is a good son. He would not do that." "He would," I said. I finally lifted her to put her in the bathtub. She weighed little, like a pile of dry sticks. Last month he transferred most of our money from the joint account. He said it was for an investment. In reality, he was buying Jessica an apartment in Lincoln Park. You know, it is an expensive area. Evelyn sat in the hot water. She did not move. The steam rose, her face seemed blurred. "Old." I waited for her explosion, her screams, her insults, but she only said in a low voice, "Are you sure?" "I hired a private investigator." I said it. It was the first time I revealed that secret. It started 3 weeks ago. I have photos, bank statements, a list of his dates, including the day of your birthday. He said he was working late, but he was at the Westin Hotel with Jessica. Why? She looked up. Her eyes were wet. Why did you not tell me before? What good would it have done? I took the sponge applied body wash. Would you have supported me, or would you have said it is my fault for not being able to give him a child, for not being pretty or interesting enough, for not being worthy of your perfect son? The sponge went over her shoulder. She did not resist. 10 years, Mrs. Evelyn. I continued. My voice echoed softly on the bathroom tiles. 10 years in which every day you remind me that I am not worthy of Michael, that I married above my station, that I should be grateful. Do you know why I never got pregnant? Stress, the doctor says. But you and Michael thought the problem was mine. Michael, she stuttered. He told me they were trying. We were not trying. I said calmly. He has not touched me in 2 years. He said he was tired with a lot of work stress. I believed him. How foolish, right? Evelyn stayed silent for a long time. The water ran. Outside, the rain intensified. Will you divorce him? She asked in the end. Yes, I said, but not now. If I divorce him now, I will only get very little because he already moved the assets. My lawyer says she needs time to gather evidence. Lawyer? Yes. I washed her hair gently like I did for 10 years. I saw a lawyer last week. Everything is planned. I just did not think he would go on vacation with her so soon and so openly. That woman. Evelyn suddenly gritted her teeth. That woman dares to get involved with my son. Your son chose it, Mrs. Evelyn. I rinsed the shampoo from her hair. It was mutual. The investigator says they have been together for at least a year and a half. I finished bathing her in silence. I dried her. I dressed her in a clean nightgown. I took her back to her wheelchair in the living room. I put on her favorite afternoon show. She looked at the screen, but her eyes were empty. I need to go to bed, she said finally without looking at me. Yes, Mrs. Evelyn. I took her to her bedroom on the ground floor, helped her into bed. I adjusted the blankets, put her water bottle and her pills on the nightstand, her cell phone within reach. Do you need anything else? I asked. She turned her head toward the window. The rain hit the glass. No, go away. I left the room, closed the door gently, leaned against the hallway wall and breathed. The air in the house was heavy. It smelled clean of artificial flowers, of something that was rotting inside. I went up the stairs. Our bedroom, Michael's and mine, was spotless. The bed was made, his things organized, but his closet was half empty. He took the best shirts, the expensive suits. I opened my closet, took out a small suitcase. I did not need much, just clothes, documents, the envelope hiding under the clean sheets with the photos, the investigator's reports, the lawyer's papers. From my nightstand, I took my passport in a thicker envelope. Cash, what I had been withdrawing from my personal account in the last few months. Michael did not check it. He never cared enough. I heard a sound downstairs, a thud. Then Evelyn's voice. Sophia. I left the suitcase, went down the stairs. Her door was ajar. What is wrong? I asked from the doorway. She was sitting on the bed. She looked at me. Her eyes were no longer empty. They shone with familiar anger. Do not leave, she said. It was not a plea. It was an order. I have to. If you leave, I will tell Michael everything. Her voice was a harsh whisper. I will tell him you were unfaithful, that you ran away with another man, that you stole money from the house. I will destroy your reputation. No one will believe you. I am his mother. I looked at her for the first time in 10 years. I felt no fear, only exhaustion. A deep exhaustion that reached my bones. Tell him, I answered. When he comes back from his trip with the other woman. Tell him and see if he cares. I spun on my heels, went up the stairs. I heard her scream behind me, a sharp sound full of rage, but I did not stop. In the bedroom, I finished packing the suitcase, put on my coat, took my purse and my phone, and took one last look at the room. At our wedding photo on the dresser, we were smiling. He seemed to love me. I turned off the light, went down. Passing Evelyn's door, I heard a low, broken cry. It was not rage now. It was something else. Maybe fear, maybe understanding. I did not stop. In the kitchen, I left her medicine on the table and a note. Take 1 pill in the morning and 1 at night. The food is in the fridge. Heat it in the microwave. I did not write I love you. I never had. I took the car keys, went out the front door. The cold rain hit my face. The suitcase rolled over the driveway. I put the suitcase in the trunk. I sat at the wheel, started the engine, and looked at the house through the rearview mirror, white and silent, with an old and bitter woman inside. And with all the years of my life, I did not cry. I just drove. The car moved along the road in the rain. The headlights reflected on the wet asphalt. I left Naperville, passed through the expressway, headed south toward Pilsen, toward my parents' apartment. My phone vibrated on the passenger seat. It was him, Michael. The profile picture was ours on the beach 3 years ago. We were smiling. Now the screen said, Michael calling. I watched it until it stopped vibrating. A minute later, a message. Sophia, where are you? Mom just sent me a weird message. Call me. I deleted it. Another message. Honey, seriously. Call me. I am worried. I deleted it too. Third message. This is not funny. Where are you? I turned off the phone. The rain intensified. The windshield wiper went back and forth from left to right like a pendulum. I thought of Evelyn in her room with her phone within reach. Had she really called Michael, or was she just threatening? It did not matter. Nothing mattered anymore. I arrived at my parents' building, a 1970s block painted beige. I parked on the street, went up the stairs. There was no elevator. On the 3rd floor, door number 7, a faded welcome sticker. I rang the bell and waited. I heard footsteps inside. The door opened. It was my little sister, Emily, 28 years old, with curly and rebellious hair. She wore shorts and a large t-shirt. Her eyes opened wide. Sophia, my God. She hugged me tight. Then she pulled away. She looked at me. What happened? Are you okay? Why are you here? Where is Michael? He is not here, I said, my voice sounding hoarse. Are Mom and Dad here? Dad is working the night shift. Mom is inside sleeping. But Sophia, you look horrible. Come in, come in. I entered. The apartment smelled of fried food and clean things. Like always. It was small, living room, kitchen, 3 bedrooms, but it was warm. There were photos everywhere, family photos, photos of Emily and me when we were little. Emily took me to the living room, made me sit on the sofa, went to the kitchen, and came back with a glass of water. Drink, then you tell me everything. I drank. The water was cool. It soothed my throat. It is Michael? Emily asked, sitting next to me. Did you guys fight? Something more than a fight, I said. I took out my phone, turned it on, found the video, and showed it to her. Emily watched it. Her expression changed from worry to confusion, then to rage. That is him, and that woman is Jessica, I said. The woman he has been seeing for over 1.5 years. Now they are flying to Punta Cana on their trip, I suppose. But how? Why, that Emily jumped off the sofa and paced back and forth. And you knew it and did not tell me anything. I found out 3 weeks ago, I said. I took the envelope from my purse. I hired an investigator. I have photos, messages, bank statements. Michael has been emptying our joint account. He said it was for an investment in his company, but the money ended up in an account in the name of Jessica Ruiz for an apartment in Lincoln Park. Emily took the envelope. A photo came out. Michael and Jessica coming out of an expensive restaurant. They were laughing. Another photo. Michael entering a modern building. The address was in Lincoln Park. A bank report. Large transfers. Sophia, this is huge, Emily whispered. What are you going to do? Divorce him, I said. But not yet. My lawyer says she needs more evidence to prove the transfer of assets, so he cannot leave me with nothing. Lawyer. You already have a lawyer. Rebecca Lawson, a colleague from the library, recommended her to me. She specializes in complicated divorces. I saw her last week. Emily left the photos on the table, sat down again, and took my hands. Her hands were warm. Mine were freezing. Sophia, I am so sorry, really. That man does not even deserve the air he breathes. Suddenly I felt a lump in my throat. My eyes filled with tears. I did not cry in the car. I did not cry with Evelyn. But here with my little sister I broke down. I started to tremble. Emily hugged me without saying anything. She stroked my hair like she did when we were girls and I had nightmares. And his mother? Emily asked after a while. Does Mrs. Evelyn know about Jessica? I told her today before I left. And what did she say? First she did not believe me. Then she wanted to blame Jessica. She said that woman got involved with her precious son. I told her the truth, that Michael is just as responsible. Then she tried to blackmail me. She said she would tell Michael that I was unfaithful to him, that I stole money. What? Emily pulled away, indignant. Seriously, after everything you have done for her, 10 years taking care of her like that. Yes, after 10 years. I wiped my tears. That is why I left. I could not stay there a minute longer. I left her medicine on the table and food in the fridge. Nothing more. Emily nodded slowly. You did the right thing. She is not your responsibility. It is her son who should be taking care of her. Not you. Michael does not know that I know, I said. He thinks I am at home as always, taking care of his mother, waiting for him. When he comes back he will have a surprise. And what will happen then? I took a deep breath. Then my lawyer will send the divorce papers with all the evidence and the claim for the transfer of assets. I want what is mine. I do not intend to leave empty-handed. And if he does not accept, if he fights? He will fight, I said. But we have evidence. Rebecca says that with this the judge will be on our side, especially regarding the financial issue. He thought he was smarter, but I was more careful. Emily smiled. A sad but proud smile. My older sister, always so smart. I never thought you would have to use your intelligence for this. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I did not know. I let it ring. Are you not going to answer? Emily asked. Is it him or his mother or both? I do not want to talk to them. Not yet. The phone stopped ringing. A minute later a message. Sophia. It is Michael. Please call me. Mom tells me you left. What is going on? Are you okay? I am very worried. I am calling from the Punta Cana airport. Please answer. I deleted it. Is he in Punta Cana already? Emily asked. It must be the flight. Takes about 8 hours. He must have arrived. I checked the clock. 11 at night in the Dominican Republic. It would be 6 in the evening, cocktail hour on the beach. He will be enjoying the sun with the other woman while his mother is alone at home. What if something happens to the old woman? Emily asked, suddenly serious. If she falls or if she gets sick. She has her phone. She can call the neighbors or emergency services. I am not her personal nurse, Emily. I was just her daughter-in-law, and now not even that. Emily nodded, but I saw the doubt in her eyes. Sophia, I am just saying, if something happens to her, the blame could fall on you legally. I know, I said. That is why I left everything in order. Food, medicine, a note. I am careful, sister. I will not give Michael any weapon against me. From my parents' room came a noise. Then my mother's sleepy voice. Emily. Who are you talking to at this hour? I went out to the hallway. Mom was at the door of her bedroom. She wore an old robe. Her white hair was messy. Seeing me, her eyes opened wide. Sophia, what are you doing here, daughter? She approached. She took my face in her hands. Her hands were rough from working so much. My God, you are freezing. What happened? Are you okay? Where is Michael? Michael is not here, Mom, I said. And he will not be anymore. We took her to the living room. We told her everything more or less. I showed her the photos and the reports. Mom did not say anything. She listened. Her lips formed a thin line. When I finished, she sighed deeply. My poor daughter, she said. Her voice trembled a little. That man never deserved you. I knew it from day one. He thought he was better than us because his family had more money. Because he lived in a better neighborhood. Why did you not tell me then, Mom? I asked, although I already knew the answer. Because you wanted to get married, she said sadly. And you were happy, or so it seemed. What was I going to do? Tell you no? You would have gotten mad at me. She was right. 10 years ago I was in love blind. Michael was handsome, polite, he had a good job, or so it seemed. His mother was strict, but I thought she would accept me in time. How naive. You can stay here as long as you need. Mom said. Your room is still the same. Emily sleeps in the guest room sometimes, but yours is free. Thank you, Mom. And do not worry about your father. I will explain it to him. He will be furious. But not with you. With that man. The word sounded grave in her mouth. My phone vibrated again. This time it was a message from an unknown number. Sophia, it is Michael. I talked to Mom. She is saying very weird things. She says you know about Jessica. Is it true? Please answer. We need to talk. I am begging you. I deleted it. Are you not going to answer him? Mom asked. No, not yet. Let him suffer a little, let him wonder, let him not enjoy his trip. Well done, Emily said. Let him worry. Although it seems little to me for what he has done to you. I got up. I need to sleep. I am exhausted. Go, daughter, Mom said. Tomorrow we will talk more and eat pancakes for breakfast like before. I smiled. A small gesture but real. I would love that, Mom. I went into my old room. It was small. The walls were still painted light blue. It had band posters from when I was a teenager. The bed was narrow, but it was mine. I took off my shoes and lay down. The ceiling had a familiar crack, the same as always. The phone vibrated on the nightstand. Another call. Again, Michael. I let it ring until it stopped. A message. Sophia, for the love of God, answer. Where are you? Mom tells me you left her alone. She is not answering the landline. What happened? Are you at your parents' house? I am going to call there. I hung up the phone, turned off the mobile completely, got up and left the room. Mom, Emily, if Michael calls, do not tell him I am here, please. Of course not, Emily said. If he calls, I will tell him we do not know anything, that we have not seen you. Thank you. I went back to bed, lay down and closed my eyes. I was so tired, but my mind would not stop. I thought of Michael at the airport laughing with Jessica. I thought of Evelyn in her silent house, in her anger, in my own foolishness. When did it all start? Maybe 2 years ago when Michael became a partner in the company. He started coming home later. He said he had meetings and trips. I believed him. He was ambitious. He always was. Then, a year ago, he started being distant. He would not touch me anymore. He slept on his side, his back to me. I thought it was stress. I suggested we go to a therapist. He laughed. I do not need a stranger telling me how to live my life. 6 months ago I found the first message on his phone that he had left in the kitchen. I miss you, honey. When will we see each other? It was from an unsaved number without a name. I confronted him. He said it was a coworker, that they were just friends, that I was jealous, and I believed him or wanted to believe him until 3 weeks ago when I saw a receipt from a very expensive jewelry store, a diamond necklace. It was not for me. It was not my birthday. It was not our anniversary. That is when I knew. That is when I hired the investigator, and now I was here in my old bed with my life in pieces. But still standing. Still breathing. I heard the landline ring in the living room 1, 2, 3 times. Then it stopped. It must have been him or Evelyn. It did not matter. Tomorrow would be another day. A day without Michael, without Evelyn, a day of my own. I fell asleep, but it was not a deep sleep. I dreamed of the airport, of Jessica's laugh, of Michael's gaze, of Evelyn's voice. Do not leave, do not leave. I woke up startled. It was 3 in the morning. Everything was dark and silent. My phone was turned off on the nightstand. I sat on the bed and breathed. Outside in Pilsen, a car sped by. Someone laughed in the street. Life went on. My life too. Somehow 5 days passed. 5 days in my parents' apartment. 5 days of missed calls and messages from Michael, increasingly desperate, increasingly angry, increasingly pleading. I did not answer. I did not read most of them. I just saved some in case my lawyer needed them. Rebecca Lawson, my lawyer, called me on the 3rd day. Sophia, I need you to go to your house. To the marital house. You need to collect more documents, old bank statements, mortgage papers, anything that can prove the joint assets before he started emptying it. I do not want to see it, I said, looking out the window of my parents' room. The rain had stopped. The sky was gray. He will not be there. According to his flight history, He is in Punta Cana until Friday. You have time but go soon. And Sophia, be careful with your mother-in-law. She is not my mother-in-law, I answered, but I knew she was right, so there I was back in Naperville, parking my car in front of the White House. It looked the same. The living room curtains drawn, the garden flowers withered by the rain. I took a deep breath, opened the car door. The air was cold. February in Chicago. I walked up the path. My keys were still in my pocket. I took them out. The front door opened smoothly. Inside the house smelled closed off, of stale air and something else, a sweetish smell faint like spoiled milk. I shuddered, turned off the alarm. The silence was absolute. Sophia. Evelyn's voice came from the living room, weak and broken. Is that you, girl? I walked to the living room. She was in her electric chair in front of the turned-off television. She wore the same silk robe from 5 days ago. Now it was wrinkled with stains. Her hair, normally so perfect, was a gray and rebellious mass. She smelled of sweat, of urine. She looked at me. Her sunken eyes shone with something. Relief, hatred. I could not tell. You returned, she said. It was not a question. It was a tired statement. I am just going to get my things, I said. My voice sounded strangely loud in the silence. Your things, she repeated. A crooked smile appeared on her dry lips. What things? The ones my son bought you, or the ones you stole? Nothing that was not mine, I answered. I walked past her toward the dining room, the desk where Michael kept the papers. Where is my son? She asked, spinning her chair to follow me. The hum of the electric motor was the only sound. He is not with you. Too busy with his situation. I opened the top drawer. Folders, many folders. He is not with me, as you already know. I have called him 20 times, she yelled suddenly. Her voice broke. He does not answer. He only sends me messages saying he is in a meeting. Lies. I know he is with her. He has abandoned me. I pulled out a marked folder. Bank mortgage. I opened it. Papers signed by both of us 8 years ago when we bought this house. He has not abandoned you. He has abandoned me. He has you here with food, with your medicine, with your house. I am alone, she screamed, hitting the arm of the chair with a weak fist. I cannot move. I cannot go to the bathroom alone. I cannot prepare my food. What kind of daughter-in-law are you? What kind of woman leaves a sick old woman alone? I closed the folder and put it in my large purse. The woman who is no longer your daughter-in-law. Call your son. It is his responsibility, not mine. You are cruel, she whispered. That is why my son left you, because you are not a real woman. You cannot give him a child? What man would want to stay with you? The words hit me as always, but this time the pain was dull and distant, as if I had been hit through a thick glass. I kept searching. I found the account statements from the last 3 years. I put them in the purse. You have nothing to say, she spat. You are going to take what you want and flee like the rat you are. I turned around and looked her straight in the eyes. I am not taking anything that is not mine. I am just taking what is mine, half of this house, half of the savings that he could not hide, and my dignity. That is all. She laughed. A dry sound like bones breaking. Dignity. What do you know about dignity? You came here from your working-class neighborhood. You thought you had married a prince, but you were just the maid. The maid who took care of me and warmed his bed until he got tired. I went up the stairs. Her screams followed me. Come back here. Do not leave. I order you to come back. I entered the bedroom. The smell of his cologne was still in the air. Always the same brand. I opened the closet, took out my suitcases, not many clothes, shoes, books, some jewelry that was mine, gifts from my parents, nothing of what he gave me. From under the bed I pulled out a cardboard box, old photos, letters, things from before, from when we were happier I thought we were. I put it in the suitcase, then the jewelry box. Inside, my grandmother's necklace, a gold locket. I opened it. Inside was a tiny photo of my grandfather. I closed it and hung it around my neck. Under the shirt, cold against the skin. Sophia. Evelyn's voice was right behind me. She had brought the chair up the special ramp we installed. She was at the bedroom door. Her breathing was agitated. Please do not leave me. I turned. Her eyes were full of real tears. I cannot stay. He will return, she said with a trembling voice. When he returns, I will tell him you were a saint, that you behaved well, that it was all a misunderstanding. He will forgive you. We can be a family again. I looked at her. This woman who had made my life impossible for 10 years was now pleading, scared. Really scared. You do not want him back, I said softly. Not as his wife. You want him here with you taking care of you. But he chose someone else and I choose to leave. I will pay you, she screamed desperately. I have money savings. Michael does not know. I will give you everything. Just stay a week until he returns. I shook my head. It is not your money. It is your son's money, money he earned while I took care of you, while I maintained this house, while I gave up my life. No, Mrs. Evelyn, I do not want your money. I only want my freedom. I closed the suitcase, carried it down the stairs. She followed me, the chair going down slowly on the ramp. If you leave, her voice said, now cold and flat. If you leave, I will die. And it will be your fault. It will be neglect. I stopped at the foot of the stairs. No, it will not be neglect on my part. It will be the negligence of your son, who left you alone to go on a trip with the other woman. Justice will decide. No one will believe you. Her voice became a shriek. Now I am an invalid old woman. You are the jealous wife who abandoned her family. You will see. You will see what happens to a woman like you. I opened the front door. The cold air rushed in. I put on my coat, grabbed the suitcase. I left food in the fridge, I said without turning around. Easy to heat up. Your medicine is on the kitchen table. The dose is written down. The phone number of the neighbors, the pharmacy, and your doctor are on the fridge with a magnet. If you need anything, call. I will not call anyone, she yelled. I do not want your charity. I would rather die. It is your choice, I said. And I left. I closed the door behind me. Her last scream was muffled. Come back, Sophia, please. I walked fast down the path. I got in the car, put the suitcase in the back seat. I started the engine and looked at the house through the rearview mirror. In the living room window, I saw her pale face. She pressed against the glass. Her hands hit the glass weakly like a trapped bird. I looked away and drove. My phone that I had left in the car vibrated. Messages, missed calls from Michael from unknown numbers. I turned it off. Half an hour later, I arrived at a cafe near the library where I worked, a small dark place where no one knew me. I ordered a coffee, turned on the phone, and called Rebecca. I have it, I said when she answered. The mortgage papers, the account statements. Good, Rebecca said. Her voice was professional. Come. Bring them to my office tomorrow. And Sophia, how is Mrs. Evelyn? Scared, I answered angrily. She knows Michael is not going to return to take care of her. You left everything as we agreed. Food, medicine, phone numbers. Yes. Good. That is important. It shows your intention not to leave her in danger, just to remove yourself from an unsustainable situation. Legally, it makes a difference. And if something happens to her? I asked. The question that had been spinning in my head for 5 days. Rebecca paused. If something happens to her, we will have to prove that you took reasonable precautions, that she is an adult with reduced capacities but not totally incapacitated, that she could use the phone, that she had food, that her son, her main legal caregiver, voluntarily left her alone. It will not be easy, but we have arguments. Thank you, Rebecca. Sophia, her voice softened a bit. You did well. Many women in your situation stay out of fear, out of guilt. You left. That takes courage. I hung up. I drank my coffee. It was bitter. Like everything. Suddenly the phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Sophia, it is Michael. Please. Mom just called me. She is hysterical. She says you took everything. She says you are leaving her to die alone. What are you doing? Answer, call her or I call the police. I deleted it. Another message from the same number. A minute later. I am going to return. The next flight. This has gotten out of hand. We have to talk man to woman, please. Man to woman. The phrase made me laugh. A dry, bitter sound. 10 years. And now he wanted to talk man to woman. When had he talked like that before? Never. It was always, "Do not bother me, I am tired," or "That is none of your business." I wrote a reply the first in days. "There is nothing to talk about. You will talk to my lawyer Rebecca Lawson. She has all the information. Do not contact me anymore." I sent it. Immediately, the phone started ringing. Him calling. I rejected it. I blocked the number, finished the coffee, paid, and went out to the street. The sky was still gray, but it was not raining. I went to the library. Not to work, just to look at my place where I was me. Not Michael's wife, not Evelyn's daughter-in-law, just Sophia the librarian, the one who recommended novels to children, the one who organized the literature books. Jenna, my coworker, saw me from the counter. Her eyes opened wide. She came out to meet me. "Sophia, my God, are you okay? You have not come in days. You do not answer the phone." "I need some time, Jenna," I said. "Personal things." She looked at me. She knew something. She knew. Not everything, but something. "Of course, honey, all the time you need." The boss asked, but I told her you were sick with the flu. "Thank you." "Hey," she lowered her voice. "The other day he came, Michael, asking for you. He seemed upset." "When?" "The day before yesterday. He said it was urgent, that you had left home, that he was worried." Jenna rolled her eyes. "Worried? Yes, sure. With the perfume of another woman on his shirt." The world stopped for a second. "Yes. When he leaned over the counter, he smelled of expensive perfume. And it was not yours. You smell of lavender. That one smelled of jasmine, something strong like that. Michael at my job, noticed by my coworker. What shame, what final humiliation. Thank you for telling me, Jenna. Do you need anything? A place to stay. My sofa is yours. I am with my parents, but thank you." I left the library and walked aimlessly. The streets of Chicago were full of people, couples holding hands, families, everyone with their lives, their problems, their secrets. I passed by a phone store, went in, bought a new SIM card, a new number just for me, for Rebecca, for my family. Michael would not have it. In the car I changed the card. My old number, the one Michael knew, stayed saved just in case I needed proof of his harassment. I called Emily with the new number. "It is me," I said. "New number. Do not give it to anyone." "Understood," Emily said. "Hey, Michael called the landline. He wanted to talk to Mom, and Mom told him a thing or two. That I was her daughter and that she had raised me better, that a man who betrays his wife is not a man, and not to call here again." Then she hung up. Emily smiled over the phone. It was something. I had never heard her speak like that. I smiled for the first time in days. A real smile. "Tell her I love her. She loves you too." "And how was it at the house?" She was bad, scared, but still difficult. She told me I was bitter, that it was my fault. "God, Sophia, I am sorry." "No, you are not sorry. Neither am I. She is alone now and she is afraid, but it is no longer my problem. And I have the papers. Tomorrow I go to Rebecca." "Good. Hey, what if he goes back to the house sooner?" I thought about it. He might. His mother probably told him I was there. He might change his flight. He might run back to save Mom from the situation. And what will you do? Nothing. I will not be there. I will be here with you all, preparing my case, living my life. I hung up, drove back to Pilsen, to my neighborhood, to my people. That night, in the narrow bed of my childhood, I dreamed. I dreamed of the White House with Evelyn screaming behind the window. But in the dream she was not alone. Michael was with her and Jessica. The three of them looked at me from the window, laughing, pointing at me. Then the image changed. The house was dark and silent, and the smell, that sweet, sour smell, came out of the house and permeated everything. I woke up sweating. It was 4 a.m. The silence of the apartment was absolute. I took my new phone and wrote a message to Rebecca. "Rebecca, it is Sophia. A question. If something happens to Evelyn, could they blame me for something more than leaving the situation?" I did not expect an answer at that hour, but a minute later one arrived. "It depends. If the intention to cause harm is proven, it could be something more serious. But given the circumstances, prolonged care, your documented departure, provisions left, and the actual abandonment by her son, it is very unlikely." "Why? Is there something else?" I wrote, "Just a bad feeling." Her reply was quick. Understood. We will talk tomorrow. Sleep. But I could not sleep. I stayed awake looking at the crack in the ceiling, thinking of Evelyn hitting the glass, screaming alone. Had I done the right thing legally? Maybe yes. Rebecca said so. I had left food, medicine, numbers, but morally she was an old, disabled, dependent woman. Even if she was cruel, even if she had made my life impossible, was it fair to leave her like that? Then I thought of Michael at the airport, laughing, kissing Jessica, spending our money on his trip, while I cleaned his mother's messes, while I gave up my dreams. No, it was not fair, but life was not fair. I had done my part for 10 years. Now it was his turn. I fell asleep just before dawn. I dreamed again. This time not about the house, about the sea, about a distant beach. I was alone and the silence was not terrifying. It was peace. The alarm went off. It was 8, a new day, a day without them. I got up, left the room. The smell of coffee and toast filled the apartment. Mom was in the kitchen. Emily was reading the newspaper. "Good morning, daughter," Mom said. "I made pancakes. As I promised." I sat down and ate. They were the best pancakes of my life. The days passed slowly and heavily. In the Pilsen apartment, my new routine. Having breakfast with my mother and Emily. Reviewing the papers with Rebecca, my lawyer. Ignoring the calls and messages that arrived on my old number. I lived in a fragile but calm bubble. The 4th day after my visit to the house, I had an appointment with Rebecca at her office. It was in the center near the Loop, an old building with an elevator. Her office was small and tidy, walls full of law books. Rebecca was a woman of about 50, with short gray hair and intelligent eyes. She did not waste time. "The papers you brought me are excellent," she said, flipping through them. "The bank statements. They clearly show the pattern. Monthly transfers from your joint account to an account in the name of Jessica Ruiz. They started 18 months ago, small at first, then larger. The last one 3 weeks ago of $15,000 for the apartment in Lincoln Park," I said, sitting in front of her desk, my hands in my lap. "Exactly. And I have the investigator's report. Photos of them entering and leaving that building. Even one of them at a real estate agency." She looked at me. "It is solid, Sophia. With this, no judge will doubt the affair and the transfer of assets. You will claim half of everything, including the house, even though he put down most of the down payment." "I do not want the house," I said quickly. "Too quickly." Rebecca nodded. "Understanding. I understand, but it is an asset. We can force the sale or have him buy your part. With the current market value, Naperville is expensive. Your part will be considerable." I took a deep breath. "And the divorce, how long will it take?" "With luck, about 6 months. If he resists, it can drag on, but with this evidence," she made a hand gesture, "most likely his lawyer will recommend he reach an agreement to avoid a public scandal. He has a reputation to protect. His construction company, too." "He does not think I am capable of this," I said almost to myself. "He thinks I will get scared, that I will come crawling back." "That is his mistake," Rebecca said. She closed the folder. "Now the other matter. Your mother-in-law. Evelyn. She is not my mother-in-law. Legally she still is. Until the divorce is final." She took off her glasses. "Her well-being could be a point of conflict. If he claims that you left her in a situation of vulnerability, he could use it against you to paint you as heartless, to influence the judge in matters of support or distribution. I left food, medicine, phone numbers, I know. And we have photos of that, the ones you took with your phone before leaving. It is good, but if she suffers any harm, yes, God forbid, passes away, the situation gets complicated." The air in the office seemed to get colder. He could try to press charges. Neglect of a family member. Although the direct family member is him, not you. But you are her de facto caregiver for years. It is a gray area, Sophia. I do not want to scare you, but you must know. I am not going back there, I said firmly. And you should not. Rebecca leaned forward. But I suggest something. Call Adult Protective Services. Anonymously report that a disabled elderly woman lives alone, that her son went on a trip abroad, that she might need evaluation. That way you cover your back and incidentally you make the system take charge. Which is their obligation, not yours. The idea appealed to me and scared me. And if they find out it was me? Say you are a concerned neighbor. You hear strange noises or a smell, whatever. They have a duty to investigate, and if they find she is fine, perfect. If not, they send help and it is recorded that someone, not you, alerted. I nodded. I will do it today. Good. Rebecca smiled. A brief smile. You are strong, Sophia, stronger than you think. I left her office. The street air was cold, but the sun peeked through the clouds. I walked aimlessly. I passed through Millennium Park, full of tourists, of smiling people, of life. On a bench I sat down, took out my new phone. The old one, Michael's. I carried it too, turned off. I turned it on. 23 missed calls, 15 voice messages, dozens of text messages, all from him. The last one's more urgent. Sophia, I am back. I am home. Where are you? The house is empty. Mom does not answer the phone. I called your parents. Your sister hung up on me. Please, this is not funny anymore. That was from yesterday. He had returned earlier than expected. Good. Another message from this morning. Sophia, if you do not answer in an hour, I call the police. I am warning you. This is something serious. I smiled without joy. Yes. Call the police. Tell them your wife left you after she discovered you went on your trip with the other woman. We will see what they think. I turned off the old phone, took out the new one, dialed the number of Adult Protective Services. An automated voice gave me options. I pressed the right one. Assistance for the elderly and dependents, answered a woman. Tired, professional voice. Good morning, Adult Protective Services. How can I help you? I breathed. I changed my voice a bit, made it deeper, older. Good morning. I am calling for a neighbor. I am from the building next door in Naperville, Maple Lane number 12. Tell me. It is Mrs. Evelyn. She lives alone. She is in a wheelchair. Her son normally lives with her, but I think he went on a trip. I have not seen her in days. And yesterday I noticed a weird smell from her window. Like something rotting. I am worried something has happened to her. There was a silence. Then the sound of keys. Do you have more details? Full name of Mrs. Evelyn. Evelyn Bennett. She is about 75 years old. She is paralyzed on one side from a stroke. More keys. And the son's name? Michael. Michael Bennett. I gave his full name. My heart was beating fast. But he is not there. I saw he left days ago with suitcases and there is no one else. Other family. No, just him and his daughter-in-law. But she also left a week ago, more or less. I understand. The woman paused. I will leave a note for a caseworker to stop by the address, but without a formal complaint or a warrant, it might take a while. Could you call the police? They can do a wellness check if there are signs of danger. I do not want trouble with the neighbors, I said quickly. I just wanted to notify. Just in case. I understand. I will do what I can. Thank you for calling. She hung up. I hung up. My hands were trembling. I had done it. Now it was no longer just my responsibility. It was the system's, Adult Protective Services, her son's. I got up and walked toward the subway stop. I had to return home. To my parents' house, I meant. I still made mistakes. On the subway, the new phone vibrated. It was Emily. Sophia, where are you? Her voice sounded tense. Returning home. Is something wrong? Michael called the landline again, and this time he did not talk to Mom. He talked to me. He was beside himself. He was screaming. He was saying that you have to return, that his mother is on the verge of a breakdown, that if you do not return he will press charges. Let him try, I said, lowering my voice around me. People came and went unconcerned. He has nothing. And I have photos of him with Jessica at the airport. Yes, but Sophia, she said something else. He said the house smells bad, that there is a horrible smell, that the plants at the entrance are dead and that the living room curtains are drawn day and night. A chill ran down my spine despite the heat of the station. When did he return? Yesterday afternoon. He said he took the first possible flight from Punta Cana, that he left Jessica there, that he came running. Well, at least he cares about his mother. My voice sounded bitter. Sophia, what if something happens to the old woman? What if she is sick? Or worse, does she have food? Does she have medicine? Does she have a phone? I repeated like a mantra. If she does not use them, it is not my fault. I know. Just be careful. That guy is desperate and desperate people do foolish things. He cannot do anything to me. I am with you all and I have a lawyer. I hung up. The subway arrived at the Pilsen station. I got off, walked the familiar streets, the smell of freshly baked bread from the corner bakery, the shout of kids playing soccer in a vacant lot. Entering the apartment, the smell of food enveloped me. Stew. My mother was in the kitchen stirring a pot. Hello, daughter, she said without turning around. There is stew, your favorite. Thank you, Mom. I took off my coat. Everything okay? Yes. Did your sister tell you about the call? No. Yes. She turned around. Her face was worried. Sophia, honey, are you sure about what you are doing? That man is powerful. He has money. Friends. I have the truth, Mom, and a good lawyer. The truth is sometimes not enough, she murmured. Then she sighed. But I support you, you know that, right? Just be careful. I will be. That night, while the three of us had dinner, my father had returned from his night shift, a quiet man who only hugged me tight upon seeing me. The landline rang. My father got up to answer. Hello. He listened. His normally serene face became serious. No, she is not available. Another silence. I have told you no, and I repeat, do not call here again or we will file a complaint for harassment. He hung up hard. He sat down. It was him. You know, Michael. He almost spat the name. He says his mother is very sick, that he needs you to go, that you are the only one who knows how to take care of her. I am not going, I said with a mouthful of stew. Tasted of childhood, of safety. Of course not, my father said. His eyes, brown and tired, looked at me with determination. No one from this family goes back to those people. I felt overwhelmed by the love, simple and solid like the stew, like this small apartment, like my family. After dinner I washed the dishes. Emily helped me dry. Hey, she said in a low voice. What if we went to look at the house just to make sure, from the outside without anyone seeing us? I looked at her. Why? Because I do not know, just in case, to know, to be able to sleep peacefully. I did not want to, but something in her voice convinced me, or maybe it was the same doubt gnawing at me inside. All right, tomorrow, but only from the outside. The next day in the afternoon, Emily and I went in her car, a small old sedan, not in mine that Michael knew. We parked a block away and walked. Maple Lane was quiet. One of those streets where everyone knows each other, where neighbors look through the windows. The White House looked the same, the living room curtains drawn. The plants at the entrance, as Michael had said, were withered, brown, dead. No one had watered them. We stood in front of the house next door. From there you could see the facade. Silent. Too silent. No movement is seen, Emily whispered. No, suddenly the door of the house next door opened. An older woman with a pink sweater and a garbage can came out. It was Mrs. Margaret, the gossipy neighbor, the one who always knew everything about everyone. Seeing us, she stopped and looked at us. Her eyes opened wide upon recognizing me. Sophia, my God, dear. She left the can, approached, smelling of cheap perfume and stew. Where had you been? Your mother-in-law is a mess, and Michael, that man, appears and disappears. Hello, Mrs. Margaret, I said, forcing a smile. What is wrong with my mother-in-law? Well, she has not been seen for days. The curtains are always closed and the smell, she lowered her voice, approaching. Since yesterday. A weird smell like something rotting, as if something had gone bad in the walls. I asked Michael when I saw him yesterday. He was going like crazy, from here to there. He said it was the garbage, that he would take it out, but the smell remains. I exchanged a look with Emily. And you have not seen Evelyn? Emily asked with an innocent voice. Through the window or in the garden? Nothing. Before I sometimes saw her in the living room window with that sour face looking at the street. But for about a week nothing. And the other day I heard noises, thuds, as if something fell, but I did not want to meddle. You know. Of course. I said. She must be with Michael. Or maybe she went somewhere with that wheelchair. Impossible. Mrs. Margaret shook her head. No, something is wrong. I told my husband. I told him, something weird is happening in the Bennett house. But he says not to meddle, that they are family problems. Your husband is right, I said softly. They are family problems. Michael and I are separating, that is why I do not live here anymore. Mrs. Margaret's eyes shone with satisfied curiosity. I knew it. That woman Evelyn was a tough one, and Michael, always so full of himself. And the other one, the young one who came the other day, the brunette Jessica, had been here in my house probably while I was working. I do not know who you are talking about. I lied. Well, Mrs. Margaret, we have to go. A pleasure to see you as always. Honey, take care, and if you need anything, you know I am here. Her tone was almost affectionate. The prospect of gossip made her nicer. We walked away. We walked fast to the car. Once inside, Emily started it. The smell, she said in a low voice. She said there was a smell. Yes, Emily. And yes, I did not cut. Do not think about that. Could be anything. Garbage, rotten food, a dead animal. She did not take out the garbage. Michael did not either. It must have accumulated. But and the thuds, and that she is not seen. Maybe she is sick or depressed. She does not want to see anyone. My words sounded hollow and empty. We should do something, call someone, the police maybe. I already called Adult Protective Services yesterday. They said they would send someone, and I do not know, I have not called again. Emily drove in silence for a while. Then she said, Sophia, it is not your responsibility. I repeat, it is not your responsibility. It is his, Michael's. He is the son. He is the one who went on a trip. I know, I said. But the doubt was already there, like a poisonous seed growing in my stomach. We arrived in Pilsen, went up to the apartment. My mother was waiting for us with coffee. And well, she asked, pouring it. The neighbor says there is a weird smell, Emily said directly, and that Evelyn has not been seen for days. My mother put the coffee pot on the table. Carefully. What kind of smell? Like something rotting. She said like a dead mouse. My mother crossed herself. An automatic gesture of her generation. My God. Poor woman. She is not a poor woman, Mom, Emily said harshly. She is a difficult woman who made Sophia's life impossible for 10 years. Yes, but she is alone and she is sick. No one deserves to pass away alone. Surrounded by their own mess. Silence fell over the table. My mother's words floated in the air. Pass away alone. She has not passed away, I said. But my voice did not sound convincing. Michael is there. He will take care of it. That guy who was on the beach with the other woman while his mother was alone at home. Emily drank a sip of coffee. I do not think he is very reliable. My new phone vibrated. An unknown number. I answered it. Sophia Ramirez. A formal man's voice. Yes, I am Officer Hayes of the police. We are at your residence on Maple Lane number 12. We have received a call from Adult Protective Services, a wellness check. But there is no one opening and there is a significant odor. Could you come as the closest relative after your husband, who is not answering the phone? The world stopped. I looked at Emily, at my mother, their expectant faces. I do not live there anymore, officer. I separated from my husband a week ago. I understand, ma'am, but according to the records, you were the primary caregiver of Mrs. Evelyn Bennett and your husband is not available. We need access to the home to make sure the lady is okay. Do you not have a key? My husband does not answer the phone. We have called several times. It goes straight to voicemail. Of course, he would be drunk or sleeping or with Jessica consoling himself for having to return. I have a key, I said slowly, but I am not in Chicago, I am away on a trip. An easy, believable lie. The officer sighed. Ma'am, the situation is concerning. The smell is strong. The neighbors say they have not seen the lady for days. If we cannot access, we will have to force entry. For safety reasons. Force entry. The police entering my old house finding whatever was inside. Let me try to locate my husband, I said quickly. I have an emergency number for him. I will call him and tell him to go there in half an hour maximum. A pause. Agreed. I will give you an hour. If by then no one opens, we will force entry. It is our duty. Understood. Thank you. I hung up. My hands were trembling. Emily and my mother looked at me. The police? Emily asked. Yes, they are at the house. They want to enter because of the smell. I took a deep breath. I have to call Michael, tell him to go. Why? Emily said. Let them enter, let them see the mess. Let them see what he did. He left his mother alone. And if she has passed away, I said the word finally in the air, cold and heavy. And I am the last one who saw her alive, the last one who talked to her. And I left. What do you think they will think? Silence was the answer. I took out my old phone, turned it on. Dozens of notifications. I called Michael. It rang 1, 2, 3 times. He answered. His voice was harsh and broken. Sophia, finally. God. Sophia, where are you? The police are at the house. I said without preambles. They say there is a strong smell. They want to enter. They will force the door in an hour if no one opens. A silence on the other side. Then a low curse. The police. Who called them? Adult Protective Services. A concerned neighbor. Go there now. I am not in Chicago, he said, hesitating. Where are you? In a hotel near the airport. I was at the house yesterday. The smell was unbearable, but I did not open the door to her room. It was locked from the inside. Mom sometimes locked it. I thought she was mad, that she did not want to see me. Locked from the inside. A new detail. Sinister. Go there, I repeated. Now or the police will enter by force and it will be worse. And you do not come. No, it is no longer my house or my responsibility. It is your family. Sophia, he screamed, his voice breaking. It is my mother. Your mother, I said with glacial calm. You left her. I just left. There is a difference. I hung up. I turned off the phone, dropped it on the table as if it had burned me. Emily took my hand. You did the right thing. Did I? My eyes filled with tears. Finally. Either I left her in that situation or I left myself in one. Neither of those things, my mother said firmly. She made her decisions. Her son made his and you made yours. That is life, daughter. That is how it is. We waited. The hour passed slowly, minute by minute. We did not talk much. We drank coffee. We looked out the window. The sky darkened. My new phone did not ring. The old one turned off, remained silent. An hour and a half later, an unknown number called the new phone. I answered it. Sophia Ramirez. It was the same officer's voice, but now it sounded different, tense and grave. Yes, ma'am. I have to inform you that given the absence of a response, we have forced entry into the residence on Maple Lane. Number 12. I stayed quiet. My heart was beating hard. We have found the resident, Evelyn Bennett. Deceased apparently several days ago. The world faded. I did not faint, but everything lost its color and its sound, only the voice of the distant officer in a tunnel. We need you to come identify the deceased. And your husband, Michael Bennett, too. He does not answer. Do you know where we can locate him? No, I lied. I do not know. Then you will come, please. It is necessary. I am not a direct relative. I was her daughter-in-law. We are separated. I understand, but right now you are the closest person we can locate. Either you come or we will have to issue a warrant for you and for your husband. I looked at my mother, at Emily. Their pale, expectant faces. Agreed, I said. My voice a whisper. I will go. Where? At the county morgue near the expressway. We will wait for you. I hung up. The tears that had not come out before flowed now silent and hot. She has passed away, I said. Evelyn has passed away. Emily covered her mouth. My mother crossed herself again. And the police want me there to identify the deceased. Do not go, Emily said immediately. Call your lawyer. Let her go with you or tell you what to do. I have to go. If not, they will issue a warrant. It will seem like I am hiding, that I have something to hide. But what about Michael? He is the son? They do not answer. They do not know where he is. I got up. My legs were trembling. I have to go now. I will accompany you, Emily said, grabbing the keys. Me too, Mom said. No, Mom, you stay here with Dad. When I return, I will need you. My mother nodded with tears in her eyes. Be careful, daughter. For God's sake, be careful. We went down the stairs. The night air was cold and biting. Emily drove in silence on the expressway, full of lights, of cars going to their homes, to their normal lives. What do you think happened? Emily asked. Finally. I do not know. Maybe another stroke or a heart issue. Or she simply let herself go out of anger, out of pride. God, Emily whispered. How horrible. Yes, I said, looking out the window. How horrible. And I knew deep in my heart that nothing would ever be the same again. I had left her and now she had passed away. And Michael would be there. And the police and the questions. The nightmare was just beginning. The county morgue was a low gray building near the expressway. Fluorescent lights flickered in the empty parking lot. Emily parked. We sat for a moment looking at the glass door. Can I wait for you here? Emily said, taking my hand. It was freezing. No, better that you come. I did not want to be alone anymore. We got out of the car. The air smelled cold. Of gasoline. I pushed the glass door. Inside, a reception desk. A uniformed police officer was talking on the phone. Seeing us, he hung up. Good evening. How can I help you? I am Sophia Ramirez. Officer Hayes called me. About Evelyn Bennett. The officer nodded with a serious face. Come this way, please. He made us pass through a side door, a long hallway with walls painted pale green. It smelled of disinfectant, of something chemical and sour. At the end of the hallway, another door. The officer opened it. It was a small room with a table and some chairs and a large glass window with a drawn gray curtain. In the room, 2 people. A man in his 40s with a sport jacket, Officer Hayes, and standing in front of the window with his back to us, Michael, my almost ex-husband. He wore the same gray linen shirt, now wrinkled and dirty. His hair, normally so perfect, was messy. Hearing us enter, he turned around. His face was a mask of shock and of something else. Hatred, pure and undisguised. You, he said the word, a harsh whisper. You came. The police called me. I said, keeping my voice neutral. Officer Hayes stepped in. Mrs. Ramirez, thank you for coming. I am Officer Hayes and this is your husband, Michael Bennett, who we have located. Michael would not take his eyes off me. Where were you? Where had you been hiding? That does not matter now. The officer said firmly. Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Ramirez, I am very sorry for your loss, but we need you to make the formal identification for the procedure. Here? I asked. My voice sounded small. Yes, it is just a formality. Through the glass you will not have to enter. The officer looked at Michael. Are you ready? Michael nodded without saying anything. His eyes were red and swollen from crying or drinking. I did not know. The officer went to the window, took a cord, pulled it. The gray curtain slowly drew back. Behind the glass, a cold white room, a steel table and on it, a figure covered with a white sheet. You could only see the human shape, small. Officer Hayes spoke through an intercom. Can you remove the cover from the face, please? Inside. A technician in a white coat nodded with respectful gestures. He removed the sheet only down to the chest. It was Evelyn, but not the Evelyn I knew. Her face was ashen and sunken, her eyes closed, her mouth slightly open, as if she wanted to say something. It had a strange color, wax. And that smell, the smell of disinfectant, could not completely hide the other smell, the sweet sour. Of death. Emily beside me held her breath. I also felt dizzy. I leaned on the table. Michael let out a sound, a muffled groan from deep down. He brought his hand to his mouth. His shoulders trembled. Do you recognize the deceased? Officer Hayes asked. His professional voice flat. Yes, I said, almost without a voice. It is Evelyn Bennett. My mother-in-law. Yes, Michael managed to say with a hoarse voice. She is my mother. The technician covered the face again. Officer Hayes drew the curtain. The silence in the room was dense and heavy. Thank you, the officer said. Can you sit down? I need to ask some questions. It is routine. We sat down. Emily next to me, Michael on the other side of the table away from me. He did not look at me. He looked at his hands intertwined on the table. They trembled. Mr. Bennett, the officer began, taking out a notepad. When was the last time you saw your mother alive? Michael took a deep breath. 11 days ago. The day I went on a trip for work. A lie sweet and clear. Where did you go? To San Antonio, a project. And your wife? The officer looked at me. She was at home. When you left. Michael hesitated. For the first time he looked at me. His eyes said, be careful what you say. Yes. Sophia stayed with her like always. And when did you return? Yesterday. In the afternoon I called Sophia, but she did not answer. I went home. The door was locked, the curtains drawn, and there was a smell. And you did not enter? I entered, but my mother's room was locked from the inside. She sometimes locked it when she was mad. I thought she did not want to see me for having left her. His voice broke. It was a good performance. Or maybe it was real. With Michael you never knew. The officer took notes. Then he turned to me. Mrs. Ramirez, when was the last time you saw your mother-in-law alive? All eyes on me. Michael loaded with hate, Emily with support, the officer with professional curiosity. 5 days ago, I said clearly. I went to the house to get my personal things. I talked to her, then I left. Michael straightened up. 5 days? You were there and you left her? Yes, I left. Because you and I are separated, Michael, and because she is not my responsibility. She was your family, he yelled, hitting the table with his fist. 10 years, Sophia. 10 years she took care of you like a daughter. The hypocrisy was so great that I was speechless. Emily intervened. That is a lie. That woman made my sister's life impossible and you know it. Shut up. Michael roared, standing up. You have no idea. This is a thing between my wife and me. I am no longer your wife, I yelled, standing up too. The pain, the rage, the fear, everything exploded. You stopped being my husband when you got on that plane with the other woman, when you spent our money on her apartment, when you went on your trip leaving your mother alone and me. Your responsibility, not mine. The room fell silent. My words echoed on the bare walls. Officer Hayes looked at us, going from one to the other. His expression had changed. From professional to alert. Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Ramirez, please sit down, he said with a calm but firm voice. This does not help. We sat down. I breathed with difficulty. Michael too. His eyes full of tears of rage did not leave me. Mrs. Ramirez, the officer continued. When you went to the house 5 days ago, how did you find your mother-in-law? She was in her chair in the living room, angry and scared. I told her I was leaving, that you were with someone else. She begged me to stay. Then she threatened me. She said she would tell Michael that I was unfaithful to him, that I would rob him. Lie, Michael spat. I have witnesses, I said coldly. My sister and my lawyer, who I called afterwards, and I have proof of your affair, Michael. Photos, bank statements. The investigator I hired. Michael paled. He did not expect it. He thought it was the weak Sophia who stayed quiet. He was wrong. The officer wrote quickly. And what did you do when you left, Mrs. Ramirez? I left prepared food in the fridge, easy to heat up. Her medicine on the kitchen table with the dose written down and the important phone numbers stuck on the fridge of the doctor, the pharmacy, the neighbors. I looked the officer directly in the eye. I did not leave her in danger. I took precautions because even though she hated me, I am not heartless. And why did you leave? Asked the officer, holding my gaze. Because my husband was unfaithful to me. Because he had emptied the bank account. Because he humiliated me, and because his mother was part of that difficult situation. I left to save myself legally, morally I left. The officer nodded slowly, then looked at Michael. Mr. Bennett, you say you went on a work trip 11 days ago to San Antonio. Yes, Michael said, less sure now. Do you have the tickets, the hotel receipt, something that proves your stay in San Antonio on those dates? Michael stayed quiet. His lie crumbled. I do not have them here. They are at home. We will need them, the officer said dryly. And we will also need the contact information of your companion, Jessica Ruiz, to confirm your movements. Michael stood up staggering. What? Why? This is about the death of my mother. What does it matter who I was with? It matters, the officer said with relentless calm, to establish the timeline, to know who was where and when, and to understand the circumstances that led Mrs. Evelyn to be alone. Because according to your wife, you were not in San Antonio. You were in Punta Cana on a trip. The look Michael threw at me then could have killed. Pure poison. She is lying. He whispered. She is crazy jealous. She would do anything to get revenge. I have the plane tickets, I said without looking away from the officer, and photos of them at the airport. I can send them to you right now, officer. Please do, Officer Hayes said. He gave me his card with an email address. I took out my phone, sent the video, the one I recorded at O'Hare. Then some of the investigators' reports. The officer received the notification. He looked at his phone. I saw his expression harden upon seeing the images. Mr. Bennett, he said, looking up. His voice was now formal and hard. I suggest you sit down. We have to talk. About what? My mother has passed away, and this woman left her to die alone. You left her, I screamed, unable to contain myself. You went on a trip with the other woman. I at least left food. You only left a note. I return in a week. Shut up. Shut up. Enough. Officer Hayes hit the table with his hand. The sound silenced both of us. This is over. Mr. Bennett, you are going to come with me to the station. We need a formal statement in great detail about your trip, about your relationship with Ms. Ruiz, about your mother's condition, about everything. And her? Michael asked, pointing at me. She goes free. She is the guilty one. Mrs. Ramirez will also come to the station to give her version separately. The officer looked at me. Ma'am, will you come voluntarily, or do I need to ask you formally? I will go voluntarily, I said. But I want to call my lawyer. Of course you can do it now. I took out the phone, called Rebecca. She answered on the second ring. Rebecca, it is Sophia. I am at the county morgue with the police. Evelyn has passed away, and they want me to go to the station to testify. There was a brief silence on the other side. Then her voice clear and calm. Do not say anything, absolutely nothing. Not a word more than what you have already said. Tell them you exercise your right to remain silent until your lawyer arrives. I am going there now. Which station? I asked the officer. The station near the expressway, he said. I told Rebecca. 20 minutes, she said. Do not speak, Sophia. I repeat, do not speak. I hung up. My lawyer is coming. I will not say anything else until she arrives. The officer nodded. It is your right. Mr. Bennett, do you want to call a lawyer? Michael seemed lost, confused, scared. No, I do not have one. You will be assigned a public defender. Come with me, please. We left the room. In the hallway, Michael and I walked separated, flanked by the officer and another police officer who had appeared. Emily walked behind. Sophia, Emily whispered. What do I do? Go home with Mom. Tell them what happened and wait. Call me. Yes. If anything happens, I will wait for you outside the station. No, go home, please. I do not want you to be in the middle of this. She wanted to protest but nodded. Her eyes were full of tears. Be careful. I will be. At the door, 2 patrol cars awaited us. The officer directed me to one, Michael to the other. I got into the back seat, the police officer at the wheel, Officer Hayes beside me. The car started. Through the window I saw Michael being put into another car. He looked at me with that expression. It was no longer just hatred. It was something else. Panic. The panic of a man who knows he has gotten into something bigger than himself. The drive was short. The station, a modern building with bright lights. They got me out of the car and took me inside. I passed a counter. People talking, phones ringing. The smell of stale coffee. They took me to a small room, a table, 3 chairs, a camera in the corner of the ceiling, a window with polarized glass. They took my purse, my phone, searched me quickly and professionally. Procedure, a female officer said. I sat down and waited. Time passed slowly. I thought of Evelyn, of her gray face behind the glass. How long had she been gone? 4 days. 5. Since I left. Did she pass away the next day of lack of care, of thirst, of anger? I had left food. But what if she could not reach it, if she fell from the chair? If she had another stroke, just screaming, and no one heard her? I shuddered. I closed my eyes. No, it was not my fault. No, I did what I could. He is the son. He is the guilty one. The door opened. Rebecca entered. She wore a pantsuit as if coming from a dinner. Her face was a professional mask. She sat in front of me. Sophia, tell me quickly. Everything that has happened since you left. I told her in order. My visit to the house, the food left, the numbers, the call to Adult Protective Services, the neighbor, the smell, the police call, the morgue, the identification, the fight with Michael. Rebecca listened without interrupting, nodding sometimes. When I finished, she sighed. This is serious, Sophia, but manageable. She was an adult with a disability. You were not her legal guardian. Her son was. He left her alone to go on a trip abroad. You, after separating, took reasonable precautions before leaving. That is key. But can they accuse me of something? Possibly neglect of a family member. It is a minor offense, but it exists. It will depend on the prosecutor and the autopsy. On the cause of death. She looked at me intently. Sophia, tell me the truth. When you left, did you think she was in imminent danger? No, I said. And it was the truth. She was angry. She was difficult, but she was in her chair. She could move a little. She could use the phone. She had food within reach. I did not think she was going to pass away. Good, say it like that, calmly, without emotions. You are a woman who escaped a difficult marriage and a toxic family situation. You did what any reasonable person would do. And Michael is in bigger trouble. Lying to the police. Neglect of a family member in his care, resulting in death. That is more serious. And his affair and the transfer of assets, although they are not criminal offenses, paint a picture of his character, of his irresponsibility. She smiled. A small and hard smile. He has dug his own grave. Literally. They knocked on the door. A police officer. Mrs. Ramirez to testify. Rebecca nodded. Remember, right to remain silent. Answer only what is essential. If they ask you about something that does not have to do directly with the events of those days, do not answer. I will interrupt if necessary. Agreed. They took us to another larger room, a long table, Officer Hayes, another older officer with a serious face, and a recorder. I sat down, Rebecca next to me. The recording began. Date, time, names. The older officer, the inspector, asked the questions, the same ones but more detailed. Now, what did I eat? What did I say? What did Evelyn do? I told the truth. The same one I told Rebecca, clear, concrete, without emotions. Why did you not call Adult Protective Services when you left instead of 5 days later? Asked the inspector. Because at that moment I did not think she was in danger. 5 days later, my sister and I talked to a neighbor who mentioned the smell. Then, as a precaution, I called anonymously. Why anonymously? Out of fear. Of my husband's retaliation. Of him thinking I was meddling. The inspector wrote something down. Then, Mrs. Ramirez, you had issues with your mother-in-law. Rebecca intervened. My client is not going to answer that. The emotional relationship is not relevant to the facts. It might be, the inspector said, looking at me. The motive. There is no motive, I said firmly. I did not cause her death. I did not leave her knowing she would pass away. I left a house where I was unhappy, where my husband betrayed me, where my mother-in-law despised me. I left to save myself. That is all. The interrogation continued for another hour. Repeated questions trying to make me contradict myself. I did not. The truth is simple and easy to remember. Finally, the inspector turned off the recorder. Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. That is all for now, but you cannot leave the area. We might summon you again. Am I arrested? I asked, my heart in my throat. No, for now you are a witness and a person of interest, but do not go far. We left the room. In the hallway near the exit I saw Michael. He was coming out of another room with a man in a cheap suit. The public defender looked exhausted. We saw each other. He stopped. "This is because of you," he said, his voice hoarse and flat. "Everything." "No," I said without stopping. "This is because of you." Rebecca took my arm, guided me out to the cold street. It was night, very late at night. "And now?" I asked. "Now home to wait. The autopsy will tell the cause of death, and the prosecutor will decide if there is a crime. And against whom?" She looked at me. "Sophia, they might charge you. Prepare yourself, but we have a good case, a very good case." I got into a taxi, gave him my parents' address. During the ride I looked out the window. Chicago passed by bright and cold. I thought of Michael, alone at the station. I thought of Jessica waiting for him in some hotel. I thought of Evelyn in a fridge, and I thought of me in the library, in the books, in the orderly silence of the shelves. That seemed from another life, from another person. The taxi stopped. I paid, went up the stairs. Opening the door, the warmth, the smell of home enveloped me. My mother, my father, Emily were in the living room waiting, their faces full of fear and love. "What happened?" my mother asked. "Evelyn has passed away," I said. And this time the tears came freely, without control. "And the police think I might have contributed to it." My mother hugged me tight, like when I was a child. "No, daughter, no. You do not cause harm. You just defended yourself. Everyone knows it. But not everyone. The law, no. Justice, no. And Michael, certainly not." I sat on the sofa, exhausted and empty. "And Michael?" my father asked. "At the station, lying as always." "Good," my father said with a rare harshness. "Let him face the consequences." Emily brought me a blanket and put it over my shoulders. "What happens now?" "Now we wait," I said, resting my head on the backrest. "And we pray that the autopsy says she passed away of something natural, fast, without pain." But in my heart I knew it would not be like that. Nothing in this story had a fast or painless ending. The nightmare continued, and I was in the center waiting for my turn to wake up. The wait was torture. 3 days passed since the night at the police station. 3 days in my parents' apartment, staring at the walls, jumping every time the phone rang. I only went out with Rebecca, my lawyer, to her office to prepare my statement, to rehearse answers, to fear the worst. Michael was free. I found out from a brief article in a digital newspaper. Businessman linked to the death of his mother, released on bail with charges. I read it in my room, the light of the mobile illuminating my face in the dark. It did not mention my name. For now. My father, a man of few words, watched the building entrance every night. "In case that man comes near," he said with a quiet determination that broke my heart. On the morning of the 4th day, Rebecca called me. "Sophia, there is news. I need you to come to the office right now." Her tone revealed nothing, but it was already an ice stab. Emily wanted to accompany me, but this time I went alone. I needed to be alone. Rebecca's office smelled of freshly brewed coffee and paper. She was behind her desk with a report open. She did not offer me a seat. "The preliminary results of the autopsy have been published," she said, without preambles. I slumped into the chair. My knees no longer supported me. "And Evelyn Bennett passed away of dehydration and lack of nourishment. Apparently she did not eat or drink enough for several days. There are no signs of external violence. There was no new stroke or acute heart issue. She simply let herself go or could not access food and water. The air escaped my lungs. Dehydration, lack of nourishment. Clean clinical words to describe a slow, horrible, lonely passing. When I managed to ask, the forensic report estimates she has been gone between 6 and 7 days, which would place her passing the day after you visited her for the last time. The day after my visit, when I left, when I closed the door, she was alive, hitting the glass, screaming, and the next day she started to go. "Sophia," Rebecca's voice was firm. She pulled me out of the vertigo. "Listen to me, this is not necessarily bad for us. In fact, it might be good." "Good," I repeated, stunned. "How can it be good?" "Because it rules out an active harm. She was not hurt by force. There was no violence. Her body simply shut down from lack of sustenance. The key question is, why did she not eat or drink? Because she could not, or because she did not want to? She could, I whispered. She could move her right arm a little. She could operate the TV remote. She could use the phone. The food was in the fridge, the containers on the bottom shelf at her height. I showed her how to heat them up. The water in small bottles on the kitchen table within reach. And the mental state. Do you think she could have let herself go out of spite, out of rage? I saw her in her chair with that look of hatred and desperation. Yes, I said with certainty, she was capable. She was proud and vindictive. If she thought her passing would hurt me or make Michael blame me forever. Yes, she was perfectly capable. Rebecca nodded, satisfied. That is a line of defense, passive choice, or at least gross negligence on the part of her legal caregiver, who was her son, not you. But the prosecutor will not see it that way. For him, there are two people who left her in that situation, you and Michael, and he is going to act accordingly. What do you mean? It means it is likely he will press charges against both of you for the offense of neglect of a family member. In his case, being the guardian and having left a particularly vulnerable person, it could be aggravated. In yours, being the de facto caregiver for years, it could also carry a penalty. A short one, but a penalty after all. The word penalty echoed in the room like a gunshot. I was left breathless. No, I managed to say. I cannot face that. I have not done anything wrong. Legally, they could argue that you did, that you should have made sure someone came in to take care of her before you left. A social worker, a nurse, something. But I did not have time. He was with the other woman. I was breaking down. I know, Sophia, and we will argue that, but you must prepare yourself. She approached, leaning her hands on the desk. I have spoken with the prosecutor. There is a preliminary hearing in the investigating court next week to decide if there is enough evidence to go to trial. You and Michael will be there together. Yes. And it will be the first time you see each other since the station. Prepare yourself. He is going to come after you with everything. I felt a knot of fear and rage in my stomach. And my divorce? It is paused until this is resolved. First is the criminal, then the civil. She smiled. A tired gesture. One thing at a time. Sophia. First, saving your freedom. I left her office like in a dream. The city bustled around me. People laughing, shopping, living. I walked like a ghost. Penalty for taking care of a woman who hated me for 10 years and then for saving myself. What cruel irony. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. I answered it out of habit. Sophia. A young woman's voice, trembling. Yes. Who is it? It is Jessica. Jessica Ruiz. The world stopped. I leaned against the wall of a building. My breath hitched. What do you want? I said. And my voice sounded like a harsh whisper. I need to see you. Talk, please. It is important. I have nothing to talk about with you. Please. Her voice broke. It is about Michael and about his mother. I know things that maybe can help you. Help me. You are the reason I am in this situation. I did not know anything about the mother. He told me she had a caregiver, that she was well attended to. She cried. Now when I found out, when we returned and everything happened, God, Sophia, I am sorry. Truly. Her crying sounded real, but with Michael, what was real? Where? I asked before I could think better of it. In a downtown cafe, wherever you want, wherever you feel safe. I gave the name of a cafe near the library full of people. Mid-morning safe. I will be there in an hour. Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. I hung up. What was I doing? Meeting with my husband's other woman. Rebecca would kill me. But something in that woman's voice, authentic fear. Or she was a good actress. I went to the cafe. I sat at a table in the back with my back to the wall. I ordered a coffee. I waited. She arrived 10 minutes later. I recognized her instantly from the investigator's photos, prettier in person, young, with the air of a good girl who has gotten into a mess. She wore jeans and a jacket, sunglasses on despite it being cloudy. Seeing me, she took them off. Her eyes were swollen and red. She approached. She sat down. Sophia, thank you for coming. Speak, I said without offering her anything. Michael is not who you think. She started playing with the paper napkin. Oh yes, maybe he is. I do not know, she took a deep breath. When we started almost 2 years ago, he told me his marriage was dead, that you and he were only together for his mother, that there was no love, that you were cold, distant. I know, I said without emotion. I believed him. I am an idiot, I know. He is charming, attentive, generous. She blushed, saying generous, thinking of the money, the apartment. But then things got weird. He always had excuses not to introduce me to his mother. He said she was very old, very sick, that she would not understand. And then the trip to Punta Cana, he insisted so much. He said it was a gift to forget the stress. I said yes. She fell silent, drank a sip of the water the waiter had left. The day we returned, he was weird, nervous. He checked his phone constantly. Then he received a call from his mother, I think, and he became upset. He said we had to return to Chicago immediately, that there was a family emergency. I asked him what was wrong. He said it was none of my business. I remembered Michael receiving the call from the hysterical Evelyn, the day I went to pick up my things. It must have been then. We returned. He left me in a hotel. He said he would go fix things and that he would return, but he did not return. He just sent me messages. Until I found out from the news about his mother. She looked at me, her eyes full of tears. Sophia, she said to me. He told me the fault was yours, that you had left her, that you were unhinged. But then I started to think, to remember things. What things? That he never spoke of you with affection, only with contempt, that he never mentioned the details of your life, that when I asked him about his mother he changed the subject, and the money he always had a lot of cash. He said they were work bonuses, but sometimes when I caught him off guard he talked about transfers, about moving funds. She leaned forward. I think he was taking from you, Sophia. And I think he knew his mother was not well. And he left anyway. With me, I know. I know, I said dryly. I have the bank statements. And the investigator. She paled. Oh, then you already knew everything, almost everything. What I did not know is that you were smart enough to figure it out, or brave enough to come tell me. I am not brave, she whispered. I am afraid of him. Now that his mother has passed away, he is like a cornered animal. He calls me upset, saying terrible things about you, about me. He says it is all our fault, the women's, that we ruined his life. That sounded like Michael, never responsible, always the victim. What do you want from me, Jessica? I want to help. If you go to trial or whatever, I can testify, say that he lied to me, that he hid the real condition of his mother from me, that he took advantage of me so the blame would not fall only on you. Her tears fell on the table. I do not want to be the other woman, the one involved with a man who left his mother in that situation. My family does not know. If this comes out in the newspapers, I understood. It was not just remorse. It was social panic, shame. Chicago, after all, the neighbors, the family, the reputation. Save your pity, I said, though without harshness. If you want to help, talk to my lawyer. Tell her everything with names, dates, amounts. That could help me and maybe get him off your back. She nodded quickly. Yes, I will do it. Tell me how to contact her. I gave her Rebecca's card. Call her. Tell her everything, but do it soon. The hearing is next week. She got up. Sophia. I am sorry. Really, for everything. Me too, I said and surprised myself. I am sorry for you because in the end he used you too. She left quickly, wiping her eyes. I stayed seated, finishing my cold coffee. Jessica Ruiz, another person affected by Michael Bennett. Maybe an unexpected ally. That night at home I told Rebecca on the phone. It is a gift from heaven, she said without losing a second. If she testifies that Michael actively lied to her about his mother's situation, it weakens his position as a concerned caregiver. It reinforces the idea that he hid and left her. Can be crucial. I will contact her tomorrow. Do you think she will do it? What will she testify against him? She has more to lose if she does not. If this blows up, her name will come to light. Better for her to appear as a deceived person than as part of the problem. Yes, she will do it. I hung up. I had dinner with my family. We ate in silence. The shadow of the courthouse was already the third guest at the table. The morning of the hearing arrived too soon. I dressed in a dark, simple suit, as Rebecca advised me. Serious, respectable appearance like a librarian, not someone seeking drama. Emily and my mother came with me, but they would stay outside the courtroom. Only Rebecca and I would enter. The investigating court was an old building with high ceilings and cold hallways. It smelled of dust and tension. In the small courtroom, there were only a few rows of benches. In front, the judge's empty desk. Michael was already there, sitting next to a man with a beard. His public defender seemed to have aged 10 years. The wrinkled shirt, the badly tied tie. Seeing me enter, he became rigid. He did not look at me. He stared straight ahead. We sat on the other side of the center aisle. Rebecca next to me. "Do not look at him," she whispered. "Look at the judge. Only at the judge." The magistrate entered. An older man with glasses. Everyone stood up. Then we sat down. The prosecutor, the same young and ambitious guy from the investigation, presented his case. He spoke of Evelyn, a vulnerable woman, of her son Michael Bennett, her legal guardian, who left her to go on a pleasure trip abroad with the other woman. The words echoed in the silent room. Michael did not move. The prosecutor then referred to me. Sophia Ramirez, the daughter-in-law and de facto primary caregiver for years, who upon discovering the affair also left her taking only minimal, insufficient precautions given the severe dependency of the deceased. Then it was the lawyer's turn. Michael's, a tired man, argued that his client trusted his wife me would stay in charge, that there was a communication failure in the marriage, not malice, that he was a dedicated son, a victim of circumstances. It was my turn. Rebecca stood up with a clear and calm voice. She presented the facts, the prolonged affair, the transfer of assets, the trip to Punta Cana bought with marital money while I took care of Evelyn. She spoke of my documented departure with left provisions and then dropped the bomb. "Your Honor, we have a voluntary statement from Ms. Jessica Ruiz, Mr. Bennett's companion on said trip, willing to testify that Mr. Bennett deliberately hid the serious state of dependency and the actual leaving of his mother from her, that he lied to her, stating that his wife took care of everything. This proves Mr. Bennett's awareness and intention to evade his responsibility and exempts my client, Sophia Ramirez, from the accusation of malicious neglect. She simply removed herself from an unsustainable situation of psychological and financial difficulty, taking the measures any reasonable person would take." I saw out of the corner of my eye how Michael slowly turned toward me for the first time. His expression was one of pure astonishment, followed by a hatred so intense I felt its heat from where I was. Jessica had turned on him. The judge took notes, asked the prosecutor to conclude. The prosecutor, surprised by the Jessica issue, asked for time to investigate this new statement, but maintained the request for prosecution for both. Although perhaps he hinted the charges could be different. For Michael, more serious, for me if anything lesser. The judge issued his order at the end of the hearing. A shortened procedure is opened against Michael Bennett for an alleged offense of neglect of a particularly vulnerable family member. Against Sophia Ramirez for an alleged offense of neglect of a family member. Both remain free with precautionary measures, prohibition to leave the area and obligation to appear weekly at the police station. A date is set for the oral trial in 3 months. 3 months. Oral trial. It was not an acquittal. It was prolonged difficulty. We left the courtroom. In the hallway, Michael approached me ignoring Rebecca. His lawyer tried to stop him but he pulled away. "Jessica," he said, his voice a threat of poison. "You dragged her into this. You poisoned her head against me." "She came to me," I said without backing down. "It seems the truth scares everyone, Michael, including you. You are going to pay for this," he whispered, getting so close I could smell his breath of coffee and desperation. "You are going to face this with me." "I am already facing it," I said and turned my back to him. "I have been facing it for years. One more difficulty will not be noticed." I walked with Rebecca and my family by my side, leaving him stranded in the cold hallway. Outside, the Chicago sun shone cynically over the city. "Not bad," Rebecca said as we walked to the car. "He has separated the charges. Yours is much lighter. And with Jessica's testimony we have a real chance even of acquittal." 3 months, I repeated. 3 months living like this. "You will survive," Emily said, taking my hand. "We will survive." In the car I looked out the window. We passed by the library where I worked. Normal life, books, silence. It seemed as far away to me as the moon. Michael was right about one thing. I was going to face consequences, but not only me, him too. And Jessica and Evelyn's shadow over all of us. The trial would be the test, and only what remained would matter. 3 months, 90 days of showing up every Monday at the police station, of signing a paper, of seeing my name on the list of people involved, 90 days of looks from neighbors, of whispers in the bakery. Is that the one who left the mother-in-law in that situation? 90 days of sleepless nights going over every moment, every word said and unsaid to Evelyn. Rebecca worked tirelessly. Jessica Ruiz kept her word. She gave a detailed formal statement before the investigating judge. She confirmed that Michael lied to her, that he minimized his mother's illness, that he spoke of a live-in caregiver who took care of everything. Her testimony was a heavy blow to the accusation against me. For Michael, it was a shot below the waterline. The day arrived. The oral trial, the criminal chamber of the courthouse. A grand, solemn building that smelled of old tension and polished wood. I sat in the defendant's area. I was not handcuffed. I was well dressed as Rebecca instructed, a black, simple dress, hair pulled back. I looked like the high school teacher I maybe could have been in another life. Beside me, on the same bench, but separated by an empty space that was an abyss, was Michael. He did not look at me. He stared at the judge's table, still empty. His profile was sharp and emaciated. His suit was too big for him. The pressure, the scandal, the possible penalty were consuming him. Behind, in the room, the public, my family, my father, my mother, Emily, holding hands, and in another row, alone with sunglasses. Despite the dimness of the room, Jessica had come. She was going to testify. On the other side, some journalists. The case, though not front page, had its difficult appeal, affair, leaving a vulnerable person. A difficult passing in a nice neighborhood. The judges entered, 3, 2 men, 1 woman, black robes, expressionless faces. Everyone stood up. Then we sat down. The presiding judge, the one in the middle, a man in his 60s with a gray mustache, started the hearing. The prosecutor, the same one from the investigation, young and eager to stand out, presented his case. He did it harshly. He painted Evelyn as a defenseless victim, Michael as a son who prioritized his own desires over duty, and me as a resentful daughter-in-law who used the discovery of the affair as an excuse for leaving a woman who depended entirely on her. He asked for 3 years for Michael for neglect of a particularly vulnerable family member resulting in death. For me, 1.5 years for an offense of neglect of a family member. Then the private side presented by a lawyer for Evelyn's family, a distant cousin who had appeared like someone seeking compensation, was even harsher. He spoke of cruelty, of an offense of omission out of resentment. He asked for 4 years for Michael and 2 for me. My heart was beating hard. 1.5 years, 2 years. They were numbers, but they meant penalty, loss of everything. Michael's defense, now with a private lawyer, he had sold something, maybe the car, to pay for him. He took the floor. His strategy was clear. Blame me. He painted Michael as a hard-working, stressed son, victim of a cold and calculating wife who, upon discovering his affair, left his mother and ruined him. He said the precautions I took were a show, that the food left was insufficient and inappropriate for a person with her limitations, that I should have called Adult Protective Services immediately. Not days later. That my resentment for Evelyn blinded me. When he finished, I felt a shiver. They were doing well. They were building a narrative in which I was the difficult one. Then it was Rebecca's turn. She stood up calmly, with a confidence that transmitted a little peace to me. She presented our defense. Your Honor, Sofia Ramirez is not someone who committed a crime. She is a person who faced hardship. A person who faced an emotionally and financially difficult marriage. A person who faced a mother-in-law who made her life difficult for a decade, and finally a person who faced a husband who betrayed her, took from her and left her first emotionally, and then physically to go on his trip with the other woman. She paused, letting the words sink in. The judges watched her attentively. Sofia Ramirez did not abandon Evelyn Bennett. She withdrew after 10 years of exhausting and ungrateful care from a situation that had become unsustainable. And in doing so, she took reasonable precautions. She left prepared food. She left the medication in plain sight with the doses. She left the emergency phone numbers. She could have done more maybe. But we are not here to judge what the perfect person would have done. We are here to judge if Sofia Ramirez's actions constitute a crime. And the answer is no. She pointed at Michael with a discreet gesture. The only legal and moral person responsible for Evelyn Bennett was her son Michael Bennett. He was her guardian. He was the one who signed the papers. He was the one who enjoyed social and professional life while his wife carried the difficult work. And he was the one who, knowing his mother's absolute dependency, left her alone, not to go to work, not for an emergency, but to go on a trip to a luxury resort in the Caribbean with the other woman. Your Honor, it is not a mistake. It is a choice, a selfish choice that had tragic consequences. The room was silent. Rebecca sat down. She had planted the seed. Now it was time to water it with testimonies. The first prosecution witness was the medical examiner. He explained the cause of death, dehydration and lack of nourishment. He said that in her condition Evelyn could have survived several days without eating, but the lack of water would have affected her sooner. Under Rebecca's questioning, he admitted there were no signs of struggle, of attempts to reach food or water, that theoretically if she did not want to eat or drink, little could be done. Then the neighbor, Mrs. Margaret, told about the smell, about the drawn curtains, about not seeing Evelyn. Under the cross-examination of Michael's defense, she said, I always seemed like a quiet, helpful person, but when the prosecutor asked her if she had ever heard me complain about Evelyn or treat her badly, Mrs. Margaret hesitated. No, never. On the contrary, I heard her say, yes, right away, always very proper. It was not the big help for the prosecution. It was Michael's turn. He swore to tell the truth. He sat on the stand facing the judges. He looked small and finished. His lawyer asked him soft questions. He spoke of his affection for his mother, of his work, of the stress. He said he trusted me, his wife, to take care of her like always, that our marriage had problems, but that he never thought I would be capable of something like that when he returned and found the situation, it was the worst moment of his life. Then the prosecutor went direct. Mr. Bennett, did you travel to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic? On the dates your mother passed away. Michael swallowed hard. Yes, it was for work. It was not for pleasure. With whom? With a friend. Jessica Ruiz, correct? The woman you were seeing. Yes. The word fell in the room like a slab. Did you inform your mother that you were going on a trip with the other woman? No, I told her it was for work. And your wife either. She found out on her own. So you lied to both, to your dependent mother and to your wife, and you left. The prosecutor made a dramatic pause. Did you not think that by leaving your mother would be left unattended? I thought Sofia would be there. Like always. Like always. The prosecutor held up a folder. We have here statements from your joint bank account, multiple transfers to an account in the name of Jessica Ruiz, a down payment for an apartment. You used your marriage money to finance your new situation with the other woman, while your wife took care of your mother. Michael paled. That is a private matter of our divorce. No, Mr. Bennett, it is a matter of credibility. It shows your pattern of behavior, selfish, deceitful, willing to take from your marriage while demanding your wife fulfill her family obligations. The prosecutor turned to the judges. No further questions. It was Rebecca's turn. She approached the stand. Michael looked at her with hatred. Mr. Bennett, how many times in the last 3 years did you bathe your mother? Michael blinked, surprised. I do not know. Not many. Sofia handled it. How many times did you prepare her food? Sofia was the one who. How many times did you clean up after her? How many nights did you wake up because she called? How many prescriptions did you pick up from the pharmacy? Michael did not answer. He sweated. Did you pay your wife for that care, or did you assume it was her obligation because she was your wife? Because she was family? Are you assuming that your wife is an unpaid helper? Rebecca did not raise her voice, but every word cut like a knife. You enjoyed the fruits of her labor, of her librarian salary and her caregiving work, and in return you were unfaithful to her, you took from her, and when she decided enough was enough, you now pretend she is at fault for not continuing to be your helper. Is that it? Objection. Michael's lawyer shouted. The defense is badgering the witness. I withdraw the last sentence, Rebecca said with a slight bow of her head. But the damage was done. The judges had seen it. No further questions. Michael stepped down from the stand defeated. His testimony had been a disaster. Then they called Jessica Ruiz. A murmur ran through the room. The other woman walked to the stand with her head down but with determination. She swore. Under the prosecutor's questioning, she confirmed about their relationship, the trip, Michael's lies about his mother. She said that had she known the truth, she would never have accepted to go, that she felt deceived and used. Then, Michael's lawyer tried to discredit her. Is it not true, Ms. Ruiz, that you accepted expensive gifts and apartment in exchange for your company? Are you simply someone who now tries to save her own situation? Jessica looked at him and for the first time showed some strength. I accepted gifts from a man who said he loved me, who said his marriage was a farce. I was young, naive, and he was very persuasive. But there is a line between being involved and being complicit in a situation that led to death. And I did not cross that line. He did. It was a direct hit. Michael closed his eyes as if he had been struck. Finally they called me. Sofia Ramirez, my turn. Upon standing up, my legs gave way. Rebecca gave me a slight squeeze on the arm. Calm, just the truth. I sat on the stand. The judge reminded me that I had sworn to tell the truth. I nodded. My mouth was dry. My lawyer started. She made me tell my story from the beginning calmly. How I met Michael, the marriage, Evelyn's illness, how little by little my life became being her caregiver. I spoke of the difficult times, of the insults, of the constant pressure for not giving a child. Then of discovering the affair, of the investigator, of the money, and finally of the day at the airport, of seeing them, of returning home, of the last conversation with Evelyn, of my decision to leave. Why did you not call Adult Protective Services that same day, Sophia? Rebecca asked softly. Because I was in shock. Because I was afraid. Because I had just discovered that my life was a lie, and that my husband had taken from me. And why, despite everything, did you not think she was in immediate danger? I thought her pride would make her eat, that she would call someone, her son, a neighbor. I never thought she would rather let herself go than ask for help or than admit I was right to leave. And when I called days later because my sister told me about the smell, and then, yes, I got scared and called anonymously out of fear of Michael, out of fear that he would think I was interfering, out of fear of everything. Rebecca nodded. No further questions, Your Honor. The prosecutor approached. His expression was serious but not hostile. Mrs. Ramirez, did you have strong negative feelings toward your mother-in-law? No, I said. And it was the truth. I had negative feelings sometimes. Yes, many times. But above all I felt pity and fear and an infinite exhaustion. But strong negative feelings require a lot of energy. And I did not have any left. And when you left, did you feel relief? Yes, an enormous relief and a terrible guilt, both at the same time. The prosecutor seemed to consider my answer. Do you think you did enough? I think I did what I could. In the state I was in I could have done more maybe, but I did not, and I will have to live with that the rest of my life. But what I will not do is carry the guilt of Michael's choice. He chose to leave. I chose to leave, but our choices did not have the same weight. The responsibility was his, not mine. The prosecutor did not insist. He sat down. The lawyer for the private side was more aggressive, trying to paint me as someone cold, but his questions crashed against the wall of my exhaustion and my simple truth. Finally, the presiding judge ended the session for the day. The conclusions and the verdict would be known in a week, one more week of waiting. Upon leaving the room, Michael approached me. His lawyer tried to stop him, but he paid no attention. We met in the hallway in front of the gazes of my family, of Jessica, of the journalists. Happy, he said, his voice a threat of poison. Happy to have destroyed my life? You destroyed yours alone, Michael, I said with a calm that surprised me. I only stopped preventing you from doing it. She was my mother, he whispered. And suddenly his eyes filled with genuine tears of pain, not of rage. And she is gone. And we are here tearing each other apart. What has all this been for, Sophia? For an instant I saw the boy I met in the library, confused and scared. Then the image faded. For nothing, Michael, I said, and my voice also trembled. It has not been for absolutely anything. Only for 2 more people to lose themselves. Since we were already lost, I turned around. I walked toward where Emily and Rebecca were waiting for me. Toward the exit, toward the gray light of the Chicago afternoon. I did not look back. I knew there would be nothing worth seeing left. The sentence was read a week later in the same cold room, the same judges, the same tension that cut the air. We all stood up. Michael, beside me, breathed in an agitated manner. I barely breathed. The presiding judge read out loud, monotonous, the words that would decide the rest of our lives. Regarding Michael Bennett, he is declared guilty of an offense of neglect of a family member in a degree of gross negligence, given his condition as legal guardian and his conscious decision to be absent abroad, leaving the person in a situation of helplessness. A sentence of 2 years is imposed. A collective gasp. 2 years. It was not the 3 the prosecutor asked for, but it was a penalty. Michael let out a muffled groan, leaning on the table. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. The judge continued. Regarding Sofia Ramirez and considering the concurrent circumstances, her role as unofficial caregiver, the situation of psychological difficulty and prior marital issues, the limited but existing measures she took upon leaving and the fact that the ultimate legal responsibility rested with her husband, it is deemed that her conduct, although regrettable, does not reach the entity of a criminal offense of neglect. Therefore, she is acquitted of the charges imputed against her. The world stopped. Quitted. I was not guilty. I would not face prison time. I felt my legs fail me. Rebecca grabbed my arm tightly, holding me. Behind I heard my mother's muffled sob. The irony was so great I almost laughed, but I was free. There would be no bars. The hearing ended. It was quick. The judges got up and left. The room erupted in murmurs. Michael turned to me. His face was a mask of rage and desperation. Do you see? Do you see? You come out clean and I face jail. It is fair, right? It is not fair, Michael, I said with an infinite fatigue. None of this has been fair. Not for you, not for me, not for your mother. It just is what it is. Officers approached him. They were going to take him, not immediately to prison. He would have to enter within a deadline, but the look in his eyes was that of a man who was already behind bars. This does not end here, Sophia, he said with a hoarse voice while they put the handcuffs on him. He did not fight. He seemed empty. This never ends. They took him out of the room through a side door. He did not look back. Thus ended Michael Bennett. Not with a bang, but with a muffled groan and the metallic sound of handcuffs. We went out to the hallway. The journalist lunged, but Rebecca and my family surrounded me, protecting me. There will be no statements, Rebecca said firmly, clearing the way. Jessica was there at the end of the hallway. She looked at me, nodded once, then turned around and left, disappearing among the people. Her role had ended. I hoped she would find peace or at least something that was not Michael. In the street, the daylight hit my face. It was spring. It was warm. A warmth I had not noticed in months. And now? Emily asked, still holding my arm. Now, I said, taking a deep breath. Now the divorce begins. For real this time. Rebecca nodded. With this sentence it is a formality. You will have half the assets including your part of the house. He has no room to negotiate. Sell it. I said without hesitation. The house. I want my part and I never want to see it again. So it will be done. We reached the car. My father drove in silence. My mother beside me would not stop holding my hand. Are you free, daughter? Are you free? Yes, I was free, but I did not feel free. I felt empty, as if something had been taken out of me, something that had been difficult, but that was a part of me after all, the resentment, the fear, the obligation. Now there was only a hollow, painful space left. Weeks passed. Michael entered prison. It was news one day in a corner of the local newspapers. Then silence. His construction company without him sank. The partners kicked him out. His name was synonymous with scandal and disgrace. I began my sentence. The 50 hours of community service assigned me to a day center for the elderly in the city. A bright, noisy place full of life, of old people playing cards, complaining about aches, laughing at silly things. The first time I entered with my blue volunteer smock, the smell of disinfectant and institutional food turned my stomach, transported me instantly to Evelyn's house, to her smell of expensive perfume and illness. I almost ran out, but I did not. I helped serve coffee, read the newspaper to an almost blind man, pushed a wheelchair, and something strange happened. No one demanded anything of me. No one hated me. A lady, Mrs. Dorothy Williams, took my hand one day and said, "You have the hands of an artist, girl. Do not you paint?" I shook my head and she said, "Well, you should. Hands must create, not just clean." It was at that moment, pushing Mrs. Dorothy toward the garden, when I started to cry. I cried in silence without anyone seeing it. I cried for the 10 lost years, for Evelyn passing away alone with her pride, for Michael facing his cell, and for me who had survived. A month after the verdict, I had the divorce hearing. It was quick, almost administrative. Michael did not appear. His lawyer raised no objections. The judge, a woman in her 50s with a tired face, issued the ruling. Divorce granted, 50% distribution of assets, liquidation of the marital property, my part of the house, of the residual account, of everything. Rebecca calculated that once the house was sold, I would get a little over $200,000. It was not a fortune, but it was a beginning, my beginning. The same day the divorce was final, I went to the library. I had notified my boss, Jenna. I entered, and the familiar silence, the smell of paper and tranquility enveloped me like a hug. "Ready to return?" Jenna asked me with a cautious smile. "Ready," I said. And it was true. I started working again, organizing books, recommending readings, living in my small rented apartment in Pilsen, near my parents. A small, quiet life, the life I had always wanted and did not know. One afternoon, finishing my service hours at the day center, Mrs. Dorothy called me. "Sophia, come here, I have something for you." I approached. On her lap, her hands trembling, she had a small sketchbook and a box of new colored pencils. "It is for you," she said. "For those hands to create. Do not tell me no. At my age there is no arguing." I took the notebook, the pencils. I did not know what to say. I could only lean down and kiss her wrinkled cheek. She smiled with bright eyes. That night in my apartment, I opened the notebook, the first blank page. I took a pencil and without thinking started to draw. I did not draw the White House. I did not draw Michael. I did not draw Evelyn. I drew the library. Its high shelves, its sunbeams with motes of dust. It was clumsy and childish, but it was mine. The phone rang. It was Rebecca. "Sophia, I have news. We have an offer for the house. A real estate agency. It is good, considering the history of the place. Should I accept?" "How much?" She said the figure. My half would be enough to live without luxuries, but without anguish for years. To take some time to think. "Yes," I said. "Accept, sell it. You will sign the papers next week." And Sophia, with this everything ends legally, emotionally it ends. Thank you, Rebecca, for everything. You are welcome. It has been an honor. I hung up. I kept looking at the drawing. Then I tore it gently from the notebook. I folded it and put it in a drawer. It was not the end, but it was a page I could close. The next day at the library, a man approached the counter. He was young with a kind look. He carried an architecture book. "Excuse me," he said with a shy smile. "I am looking for something about architecture for a project. Could you help me?" I looked into his eyes. There was no lie in them. There was no hidden expectation. Just a simple question. "Yes," I said, smiling for the first time in what seemed like an eternity. "Yes, of course, right this way, I will show you." And I guided him between the shelves toward the art section. The afternoon sun came through the high window, warm and golden. Outside, the life of Chicago continued its course, noisy and unstoppable. And I finally was part of it again, not as Michael's wife, not as Evelyn's daughter-in-law, but as Sophia. Just Sophia. It was little, but after all it was everything, and it was enough. Did you enjoy this story? Leave a comment and hit the subscribe button to support the channel. More tales are on the way.